you realise you've worried a lot of people in Ireland. A lot of people in Ireland think that if you dramatically cut your corporation tax rate, that it's going to mean an awful lot of American companies might move back to the United States from Ireland. Do you anticipate that happening?
Well, we do want to have American companies come back wherever they are, whether they're in Ireland, whether they're in Germany, whether they're in Mexico or China. We want a competitive tax system in the United States. We have the highest corporate and business tax rate in the world, and Ireland does it right. You've got one of the lowest business taxes in the world. It's one of the reasons so many companies do move to Ireland, and I applaud you for that. We've used Ireland as an example of what could happen in the United States if we got our tax rates down. You're right, I believe at 12.5%, we're at 35% in the United States. So we'd love to see those American companies come back to the United States. We'd love to see some of that capital investment from companies like Google and Apple and other companies come back, because we've lost trillions of dollars of revenues and investment capital.
But isn't it the case that those companies are located in Ireland to gain access to the European Union market that might not be available to them if they just went back retrenched to the United States?
Well, let me say this, that look, I think Ireland will still have virtually the lowest corporate tax rate in the world, even if we lower ours to 15%. So you'll still have a competitive advantage over the United States. It won't be as big as it is now. But, I think Donald Trump is looking much more concerned about, companies leaving for China, Mexico, India, the low-wage countries. And those are the jobs that Donald Trump wants to win back, because those are the state jobs that are leaving states like Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio, what we call the old Rust Belt area of America. And those workers would love to see their jobs back, and that's why they voted for Donald Trump.
Okay, but if those jobs were to come back, who's going to take them up? The unemployment rate in the United States is below 5%. There have been over 10 million new jobs created since 2009. If you brought all of these employers back into the United States, are there enough people to fill the jobs?
Oh, heck yeah, yes. I mean, look, it's one of the jokes in America is that we have a 5% unemployment rate. We don't have a 5% unemployment rate. We have closer to a 10% unemployment rate, that we can no longer continue to be uncompetitive on regulation, on taxes, on energy policy, and so on, because the American middle class has suffered enough. It's been 10 years since the average American in the United States has seen a pay raise.
Yeah, but couldn't you make things an awful lot worse by importing inflation effectively? If you decide that all car manufacturing parts, for example, have to be manufactured in the United States rather than imported across the border from Mexico, that could add, according to some estimates, anything between $5,000 and $35,000 to the price of a car, depending on what type of car it is.
Well, you're bringing up a different issue. You're bringing up the trade regulation, the trade barriers that Trump has talked about. And frankly, I am much more of a free trade person than Donald Trump is, and he knows that, and he and I have agreed to disagree on that. I believe the way we bring our jobs back is not through tariffs and trade barriers, but by cutting our taxes, cutting our regulations, making America a more pro-investment country. And you don't do that, in my opinion, by raising tariffs. You do that by making the country more business-friendly.
Okay, but imagine if you do cut your corporation tax rates to 15%. That's the figure been speculated about. How much of a loss of income is there likely to be to the American government? And how then are you going to balance the budget if suddenly you're reducing the amount of money you take in?
Well, our growth rate is pathetic. The United States economy has only been growing at 1.5% for the last year. We can't possibly, this is a lesson that Ronald Reagan taught us, you cannot possibly get enough revenue in to come anywhere near balancing the budget if your economy is only growing at 1.5%. We're going to cut our taxes, cut our regulations, get rid of Obamacare, do these kinds of things that are very pro-growth. And when we do that, we believe we'll get 4 to 5% growth for a number of years. And if you get that many more people working, you get corporate profits up, and you get people off of welfare, that's the best way to balance the budget. I think everyone agrees. And in fact, in Ireland, you've really shown the power of low tax rates as a way of stimulating growth. I mean, Ireland has been a real showcase. I talk about Ireland all the time. You do it right in Ireland when it comes to taxes. The United States does it completely wrong.
You're not aware of the economic crash that we suffered between 2008 and only recently, and
I am aware of that. I am sadly aware of it. We suffered the same crisis here, so every country was affected. But look, I'll make one other point, because I know people are concerned in Ireland. It's very simple. If the U.S. economy grows, then the rest of the world's economy grow. Ireland will grow, Germany will grow, France will grow. Every country. The United States has to lead by example, and I believe the reason that the world economy has been in this malaise now for the last decade is we've had no leadership in the United States. There's been no leadership in Britain. There's been no leadership in Germany. And so as a result, because we got it wrong in the United States, so many other countries have gotten it wrong. If we have a strong and prosperous United States of America, we export these strong policies to other countries, and free enterprise prevails, and you get growth everywhere. So, economic growth is not a zero-sum game. It's not as if we only get growth if we take it away from another country. No, what I'm envisioning is a rising tide of prosperity that hits the United States, that hits Ireland, that hits England, that hits Germany, that hits all of these countries, and you do that by moving towards very aggressively towards free markets and limited government.
Okay. We just have one final question to you, Stephen Moore. As a senior advisor to President-elect Donald Trump, what if it doesn't work? What if actually cutting the taxes on corporations and reducing the revenue doesn't work? What damage might you end up doing to the American economy?
Well, how could cutting taxes hurt the economy?
By not having enough money to put into various government spending.
Well, we're going to cut government spending. Government spending is a negative for the economy, and taxes are a negative for the economy. So if you cut both, you get more growth. And, there's so much wasteful spending in Washington, just as there is in the Irish government. I mean, governments waste money. We all know that. And governments hate to have to suck in their stomachs and tighten their belts, but we're going to require that of our government. And every time we've cut tax rates in the United States, you go back to the 1960s under John F. Kennedy, you go back to Reagan in the 1980s, when Bill Clinton, we had prosperity under Bill Clinton, he cut the capital gains tax. You get growth, not just through taxes, but by having a pro-business atmosphere. And that's what I think, let's face it, Donald Trump is a businessman. He's not a politician. And the American people said, we're fed up with politicians who don't understand anything about businesses and jobs. We're going to give Donald Trump a chance. And this is an experiment. We'll see if it works, but I'm very bullish.
Clearly you are. Stephen Moore, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.